There are now over 700 Pokemon inhabiting the Pokemon world, and it feels like just yesterday there were only 150. Most of us Pokemon fans have come to accept each new generation of Pokemon without really questioning where these new species came from. Well, today's the day we do a little research into the origins of some of the Pokemon you have probably caught and used in your adventures in the Pokemon world. Because we can't talk about every single Pokemon as much as I would like to, we will be exploring some of the artificial Pokemon, which are Pokemon that were made by humans. First on the list, we have the sticky family of Pokemon, Grimer and Muk. These two beautiful guys have probably not made it to a spot on your team. Who are we even kidding? Most of you have probably not even thrown a Pokeball their way, unless you're trying to complete your Pokédex, and even then, they're soon dropped off at your local PC. But there may be a reason for this. Grimer and Muk were never created to be loved. In fact, they were created by accident when radioactive waste was exposed to X-rays from the moon. So these two creatures were created as a byproduct of human pollution. Maybe we should take this as a lesson to respect our environment or face the consequences of a Grimer and Muk invasion. Next we have another family of two, Voltorb and Electrode. Yes, two giant Pokeballs with eyes and a mouth. What genius created these two? Well, do you guys remember Silph Co? The insanely frustrating teleportation maze in a building in Saffron City, which you could take days trying to figure out? This is the company said to be responsible for the creation of these two shockingly bland Pokemon. Silph Co was a major producer of Pokeballs. This is also why in Fire Red and Leaf Green, you were given the first prototype of a Master Ball upon defeating Giovanni at the top floor of the Silph Co building. Well, some Silph Co employee thought it would be funny to shoot a powerful pulse of energy at an ordinary Pokeball. You can already tell how boring it must have been to be on the Pokeball production line. And boom, Voltorb was created. Don't play with powerful laser beams, kids. Well, these were all just accidents. Weren't there any Pokemon deliberately created using modern technology? I'm glad you asked, because Porygon fits this description precisely. Let's cross the ocean of the Kanto region and stop off at Cinnabar Island. Not many of you may remember, but on this small island there is a Pokemon lab which you may have used to revive Pokemon from fossils. Some of you may have wondered what goes on in that lab all day and night. Surely all those scientists aren't just sitting around waiting for you to revive your two fossil Pokemon. If you ever thought about this, you have great intuition, because this is the place where the first virtual reality Pokemon, Porygon, was created. Porygon was made up entirely of computer data, and so could exist in cyberspace, and theoretically could teleport from one computer to another if his data was uploaded at one computer, transferred to, and downloaded at another. This explains why Porygon was capable of learning Teleport through TM in Generation 1. According to some Pokédex entries, Porygon is said to have a copy protection feature installed in himself to prevent illegally duplicating the Pokemon. However, since he can be breeded with a Ditto, you can still safely pirate your own copy of a Porygon if you wish to. Phew, isn't that a relief? Porygon is cool and all, as a Pokemon, but his use to humans is not much more than a giant walking USB. Surely there must be a man-made Pokemon created purely to assist us in our daily activities. The scientists at the Weather Institute in the Hoenn region were hard at work trying to create a Pokemon that would help them predict the weather more accurately. Anyone know which Pokemon was the result of all this hard work? None other than Castform. If you played through the original Hoenn games or even Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby, you will have picked up this nifty little guy upon defeating Team Magma or Team Aqua in the Weather Institute. You may have also used him in battle and noticed that he changes his form depending on the weather conditions. Oh, how convenient it would be to have a Castform. However, it would probably put the weather forecasters on the news out of business. Alright, we've talked about Pokemon made by accident and some relatively useful handcrafted Pokemon. But if you could make any type of Pokemon you wanted, what would you make? Pokemon are meant to be creatures of superhuman strength and abilities, so surely someone would want to engineer a Pokemon which is the strongest, smartest, and most capable of them all. Because at the end of the day, being a successful Pokemon trainer is about winning in battle. A group of scientists wanted to create the most powerful Pokemon that ever existed. They took the DNA from the legendary Pokemon Mew and conducted countless experiments to amplify the power of Mew's genetic information. Thus, Mewtwo was engineered, a vicious and extremely powerful humanoid Pokemon. However, science may have gone too far, as it was created to have the most savage heart of all Pokemon and lack compassion in order to dominate its enemies without mercy. Lucky for us, Pokemon can attack trainers in battle, otherwise few of us would have the courage to enter the Cerulean Cave and dare to challenge Mewtwo. Anyway, that's all we have time for this video. I want you guys to tell me what Pokemon you would create if given the opportunity. Would it be stronger and more vicious than Mewtwo? Or would it be cuter and more helpful in cast form? Let me know in the comment section below.